Hello. Welcome to another episode of Tea for Two and a book review. I'm your host, Jessica, and I have a fun book for you. This one gave me ideas of what to do if. In this one, Rosie's Traveling Tea Shop, we get to ask the what if. This is by Rebecca Raisin, and she's actually written several more off of this one. The second one I've read, I am waiting for my copy of the third one to arrive so I can read that one as well. But this one, Rosie's Traveling Tea Shop, starts with the main character, Rosie. And she comes home from work one day, having spent hours on her feet at a Michelin star restaurant where she works as a sous chef. She comes home and finds her husband standing in the entryway with his bag already packed and saying, "I've had an affair and I'm picking her over you." Well, that is a rough way to start a story. And so Rosie, in response to this, has a couple of bottles of wine. And in her drunken state, Rosie buys a camper van from a man. And when she comes to the next morning, there's that question of, what did drunk me do last night? And she answers the door, and there he is. And he says, "Here's the pink camper van. My late wife called it Poppy because it was pink. And I love your idea of a pop-up tea shop." And she's like, okay. And she ends up spending all of her savings on this camper van, this bright pink camper van named Poppy. And it takes a little while for the story to get rolling. She takes her time selling off her stuff and getting everything ready. But then eventually she does get in this car, in this camper van, and starts driving. And she's been messaging with some people online who are in this traveling community. And she meets up with them. And when she arrives, she barely manages to park this thing. And then she is just so exhausted that when she opens the door, she kind of just falls out on the side right in front of a young woman named Aria. And Aria also has her own traveling shop. It is a bookstore that only sells romance novels. Could you imagine? Oh my gosh, having the opportunity, even just for a year or two, to travel the country in a camper van that turns into your store, and you're able to do exactly what it is you love to do. And so for Rosie, it is baking. She makes cream teas for people and fun little snacks at these different events that she and Aria go to with their traveling community. And in this traveling community is another store owner named Max. And Max is a man among men. And Rosie wants nothing to do with him, which makes me love Rosie so much. I mean, she's just gotten out of this relationship. Here she is saying, nope, none of this is for me. I don't want romance. I don't want hunky men. I want somebody who's realistic and down to earth. And so she's sticking to her guns that the guy, Ollie, that she is messaging with is the one for her. Whereas here's Max trying to open her eyes to a whole new way of life. And also Aria, who is the main character in the second book of this series. And we read about her and her traveling bookstore. Now, I absolutely love this. It asks the question, what if, or what would you do if this situation happened? What would I do if suddenly I found myself single and completely alone? I don't no longer have my husband, my children, my home. What would I do? And I thought about it, and I decided, well, I would become a traveling fortune teller in a Renaissance festival, because why not? Let's do it. And that's kind of where Rosie is. You see how she is able to meld who she is with her new lifestyle. And while she doesn't completely change, which is great because we shouldn't have to change for anybody or anything, she is able to adapt to her new situation, and that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about this was all these new situations that she was thrown into, all these new people and these new ideas that she was presented with, and how she was able to still remain Rosie, the Rosie that we meet and that we sympathize with and we end up coming to love. So, if you are looking for a cozy, comfy read to get you excited to be outdoors, trying new things, experiencing new situations, then I highly recommend Rebecca Raisin's Rosie's Traveling Tea Shop. Happy reading.